I remember my doctor told me if you would not have gone to the doctor, in about 3 months, you just would have passed away. That tumor would have grown across your main airway. You would have suffocated to death. So,
Wow.
because that wasn't my path, you have to ask, why? Why am I still here? And so I just think it's not just me, it's an eye opener for everybody to ask, when I wake up every day,
Why am
I still here?
Right.
I remember my doctor told me if you would not have gone to the doctor, in about 3 months, you just would have passed away. That tumor would have grown across your main airway. You would have suffocated to death. So,
Wow.
because that wasn't my path, you have to ask, why? Why am I still here? Welcome to Catch 22 Podcast. I'm Tashell.
And I'm Dr. Chris. How's everybody today? How are you, baby?
I'm doing okay.
Just okay? Why? Why just okay?
Just been a lot of moving parts today with the kids, with this meeting, that meeting, you know,
Yeah, you got your day started
pretty early.
pretty
Already
early
did grocery shopping.
and pretty fast.
Yeah, so just
get it.
trying to be present.
You get it.
That makes sense.
You get it. I understand. I appreciate you bringing some water home.
That's what you got out of it. I appreciate you bringing some water.
Because a brother was a little thirsty last night.
That's right.
And I need my water and salt. I sure
Yes.
do. Amen.
For your energy and your
Yes,
hydration. I know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we doing today?
So today we're talking about something serious. Of course, you know.
As always.
Yeah, not always.
Always.
It's not always something serious. You always bring the laughter, I guess. That's what makes it not so serious. But today, y'all, we are talking about near-death experiences and how it's been impactful to our lives.
Yep, it's been critical to probably both of our lives. And hopefully some people out there, some of you all probably may have experienced that too. And basically what came of it from that near death experience. For you, go ahead and let's talk about yours. She has a journey, everybody. And her journey is real. Before you start, let me preface that when I met her, I did not know of what she's about to speak of. And that alone, if I'm not jumping too far, just really I had to live within that space and understand it a little bit more. So there was a lot of change that I personally had to make regarding that. But I don't go ahead. I don't want to say too much more. Go ahead.
So, near-death experiences. Nobody ever thinks that you would do that, right? You would go through that.
Right.
So, at the age of 22, I was a new mother and I had minor shortness of breath after I had gone to the mall, came outside. I don't know if you're in Houston, you're probably all over, but years ago in 2000, Katie Mills Mall was built and everybody was so excited to go to Katie Mills Mall. So I went and I had my baby. It was summertime, so it was already hot. Went shopping, came outside to a car that was extremely hot. And it felt like there was no air in the car. But I thought it was because it's just hot. Houston has hot summers, right?
Yes,
Summers, fall, everything. But I mentioned it to my mom and she felt like it wasn't something that was normal. She felt like I needed to check into it and see, maybe there's something else going on. I brushed it off. Mama, I'm just allergic to the Houston heat, But then it happened again. And it landed me riding in a car, pulling over to an officer, letting down the window, telling him to call 911 because I couldn't breathe.
You flagged him down.
I flagged him down.
And he just so happened to be in the area.
Well, this was the cop that I typically avoided speeding because he sat on the downside of a hill. So typically I'm like, oh, let me make sure I'm not speeding because I know that cop gonna be sitting over.
Mm.
So that day I prayed he was there, and he was there, and I pulled over to him. So he called the ambulance. The ambulance came. Oh, her vitals are good. She's young. My mom had gotten there by that time. What do you want to do? She's fine. My mom was like, take her to the hospital because she's had something like this happen before. Took me to the hospital, did all the tests they do in the emergency room, waiting around for hours. They were waiting on the results from my x-ray. That was the last test. They said it was something abnormally large on my right lung, but I was young, probably a swollen lymph node. See your primary care physician. So I did that. He immediately wanted to have a CAT scan done. So all along, I'm in class. Well, I'm in college, Texas Southern University, and I go to
Boo.
class. Boo,
Yeah, boo. But anyway, go
be
ahead.
quiet. um, go to class one day. The AC's not working. Yes, boo. And they had the windows lifted, and it was so muggy because it was raining outside. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. So, no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling the story backwards. So, no, while I'm in class, because that's why I'm like, Texas Southern is a part of this. While I'm in class trying to get my results from the CAT scan,
Mm-hmm.
they keep calling me while I'm in class. And when I'm switching classes, I'm calling them back. The line
Mm.
is busy. We play this phone tag until I'm driving home and they finally get me or I get them. And they're like, oh, we need to speak to your mom. I'm like, why do you need to speak to my mom? I'm 22.
Right.
Well, the upper part of your right lung is collapsed due to a blockage. We don't know what it is, but we need you to see a pulmonary specialist. We've already scheduled your appointment, so just go to him. It's like, okay. So I go to him. He does what you call a bronchoscopy. That's when they go down your throat with a tube. At the end of the tube, there's a camera and there's a device that's meant to get a biopsy of the tumor, whatever it is they need to test to find
Mm.
out what it is. So they get a biopsy, and the doctor immediately tells my mom she has cancer. And I had to be like somewhat sedated during this procedure. So I don't remember any of this, but my mom told him, don't tell her that till you've sent it off for testing to know for sure. So they sent it off for testing, and lo and behold, it was not cancer, but it was a very rare tumor that no one really had experience with. So they sent me to MD Anderson, the best place to be for cancer, and I found out
Tumors.
odd
Yeah.
tumors, odd
Yep.
things. So they began to do all this research. October 2nd, 2000 was the first day I walked into MD Anderson's doors. And I'm not knowing what to expect, but they did a thorough examination and they were trying to figure out what to do about this tumor. So they sent me to all kind of doctors for chemo, radiation, general medication. They all declined me because I was too healthy. It would ruin too many good cells if I went down that path. So the last result or resort was to have surgery to remove the tumor, save the rest of the lung because the rest of it was healthy. And they planned that surgery scheduled it for December 13th, 2000. So had the surgery, but when they opened me up, they found something very unexpected. Within 3 months, was it October, November, December, the tumor had grown so aggressively that it glued itself to my spine, my vocal cord. It grew up my main airway and it cut off all oxygen circulation to my right lung. So the doctors described it as a shriveled up mess, my lung. So they removed the whole entire lung and they also removed a portion of my main airway and they reattached my airway to my left lung. Very complicated surgery, something they totally didn't see coming, but that tumor had never been found in the lung before. So they didn't know what to expect. Get out of surgery. I think I had a blood transfusion because I lost a lot of blood. Get out of surgery. I'm doing pretty well. And the third day in ICU, I took a turn for the worst. So I ended up on life support, a ventilator, because they medically put me in a medically induced coma because I was so ill for a month and a half. And I experienced sepsis. I experienced pneumonia in the remaining lung. Um, Everything you can name, some type of infection other than pneumonia that they had to compound medication to cure. What else? I coded on them 2 times while I was on the ventilator. I was put in prone position, which means they put you on your stomach, which I've never seen
Yeah.
anybody like be in the hospital and be on their stomach. But it's supposed to help with oxygen,
Mm.
oxygenating the body. And I think my blood pressure kept going up. But I remember finding out later that 80% of people that have to be put in prone position, they eventually pass away. So going through all of that at the age of 22, missing my favorite time of Christmas of the year, Christmas, not having a memory for 2000. My daughter being taken care of by my grandmother at the time, not really allowed to come up to the hospital to see me, which is a lot I don't remember. But I do remember when I was fighting to come home, even though I don't remember the fight of my life
Mhm.
of being touch and go for so long. Um, I remember I didn't want to get emotional. I normally tell this story and I don't get emotional. You know
Mhm.
that. But it just hit me. The simplest things. I remember laying in bed in the ICU and physical therapy having to come in to work me out basically because I had lost so much weight. I was so weak. I couldn't stand up by myself. I couldn't do anything for myself.
Mhm.
And so I remember it just being the biggest task to be weaned off of a ventilator, but being aware that I was having to be weaned, meaning every single breath was painful. Um, Pushing through that, I didn't know I would ever be in position to do that, especially at 22. It hurting so bad to just sit up, to be put in a chair on the side of my bed,
Mhm.
just hurt to just sit up. It just hit me like as I sit here without pain and I just move around on a daily basis, I'm blessed. But that just hit me like that was so simple, but it was so hard at the time,
Mhm.
being in recovery. But my goal, what my doctor told me in order for me to go a step closer to going home was to be able to take one step, like with assistance, but to be able to take one step. And that's so simple. You know how many steps I do in a day?
Yeah, I do
But
10. I
then,
do 10,000.
yeah, you do. You do.
So I can only imagine not being
Yes,
able to take
to
one.
take one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was such a fighter. I didn't know that that was in me to
Mhm.
be like, okay, that's what he wants me to do. That's what I'm going to do. So every day when it was like my whole day was surrounded by like, or looking forward to when is PT coming?
So you could
Because
take that
today I'm
step.
going to take that step.
Mhm.
And some days I would be disappointed because I would get so worked up and excited that my blood pressure would be too high for
To
them to get
to
me out
go
the
to.
bed to even do it. And I'd be like, oh, I'm just excited, to show them that I'm stronger. But being in that position, not even able to use my words, I wasn't able to speak because I was awake and aware of a tube being connected to my throat. So I
Mhm.
couldn't talk. So I had to point, and I had a board that I had to point to pictures. And I was shaking because I was on so much medication. And I would just point and try to spell things so people could understand what I was saying. So finally got on the floor, meaning in the hospital, when you go on the floor, that means you only have like a couple of weeks before you go home. So I reached my next step. I remember them parading me around ICU, laying in my bed with balloons and stuff, celebrating because they all knew like it was a miracle that I was still here. And so to go on the floor, that was rough, but it was a part of the journey. Just to be turned from one side to the next or one side to the other side would make me vomit because I wasn't used to being moved. I hadn't seen light or day in that long. So all of those things played a part. And the goal to go home was to walk around the nurse's station with my walker. And because sometimes I was put on isolation, which is when it could either be them protecting you from someone else or them protecting someone else from you, I would have to put on all this plastic. Like they would have to put gloves on me, a mask on me, just gowns on top of, oh, it was a lot. And so to get me out of bed and then help me walk on a walker around the nurse's station would feel like death alive because it was so hard to breathe. It just didn't feel right. But they said it was a part of healing. So that's my near death experience, to be able to lose a lung, half an airway. To this day, I have one working vocal cord. I've always been raspy, but because I was intubated for so long, it damaged my vocal cord on the right. And to be able to go home, even though I couldn't walk, I was 65 pounds and just so weak, too weak to push a button on a remote, push a blanket off my body, to go home to my daughter who I hadn't seen in 2 months, just praying that she would recognize me and still know I'm her mom. So that day was special. That was February, the end of February the next year. So that's my near death experience that I still can't believe sometimes that I went through that, but it was definitely impactful. It changed my life in a whole lot of ways. But before I go into all of that, you ready to share yours?
Not just yet,
Okay.
because and this is why, because I was going to ask you the question, what kind of how has that changed your perspective on life? But
Okay.
I think people probably need to hear how it has changed my perspective on based on your near death experience. And it, to me, it's a disability,
Yeah.
but it doesn't disable you, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And how that has changed the way that I have to move in your world. And a lot of people, I think sometimes really don't understand, like, just like you mentioned, like every time, first off, every time you tell that story, I learn something new every time you tell it. So, it never gets boring to me. And it's never boring, but it just never, like, I always learn something new. I think sometimes as you tell it more, you start remembering a little bit more, and that's just kind of how the mind works.
Yeah.
But to say that you had to be put in garments to walk around, for people protecting you, they're protecting you from others, and vice versa. And even in this present day, it's realistically still the same. And if you all don't know, like, we realistically, that has transformed our household into into how we very conscious about the air that we breathe. We're very conscious about things that we put on our body. There's, my friends have now called me domesticated. right? And the reason why I'm domesticated is because typically the places that they like to go to and things like that, like I have realistically grown. I don't have a tolerance for, because of the air that's in there, and I can't bring you around a lot of that. So it kind of shuts us down to really doing a lot of things, all the way down to, if I wanted to go to a car show or to a race car, like the fumes from all that, like you have to, like we really have to live, not care, like not as we have to be very cautious of the spaces that we go into, from scents to aerosols to, I mean, it's almost like it takes a special friend, person, confidant, partner to truly understand that anything can trigger your issue. I don't like to say issue, and I don't like to say disability. I don't like saying those things. I guess
My circumstance.
yeah, that's probably the best word, right? Without calling you disabled and things
Right.
like that. So for me, it just gave me a whole nother perspective that, and it's not a bad thing. Like, man, I can, live in a space that I don't have to ingest and smell and because now, by, living with you in places I go to, and when I smell something, I'm like, oh, like it's intensified.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe that. I said, how are y'all walking around in this? I'm just very, very aware and very conscious of it.
Yeah.
So it has definitely taken me along this journey with you to understand that with the environment that we're in, because I think even to this day they still don't know, where that tumor came from, and it could have been a plethora of things, but that's probably a whole nother episode,
right?
That we may think, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how it's a person as being your partner and understanding that it definitely changes my perspective and more conscious and aware of the places that I go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it definitely, it's not something that like. I'm not gonna say I wish I could change it. I'm not gonna say that because it's God's plan and will for my life, and it's made me a stronger person. It's made me truly try to find my purpose. As if you've watched any of the other episodes, I'm real big on purpose because I feel like when God creates you, if you're walking around, you're not just here just to exist. Like God created you for a reason.
Right.
And so for me, it's big because I remember my doctor told me if you would not have gone to the doctor, in about 3 months, you just would have passed away. That tumor would have grown across your main airway. You would have suffocated to death. So,
Wow.
because that wasn't my path, you have to ask why. Why am I still here? And so I just think it's not just me, it's an eye opener for everybody to ask when I wake up every day,
Why am I
why
still
am I
here?
still
Right.
here?
Right.
So the fact that the impact of like, I know like for you, like the environment, how we live, I'm glad that we found it because I didn't always know what to stay away from. I knew to stay away from smoke, of course, everybody, right? Secondhand smoke. I didn't know about fragrances, plug-ins, even cleaning. You would think it made sense, but being that everybody needs to clean, it's like, what do you have to clean with?
Yeah. Because
I didn't know.
I was a comic cleanser
Oh my gosh, he
kind
would
of
have me
guy.
about to die. I would tell him, "You secretly trying to kill me, aren't you?"
Clorox
Because
spray.
he would spray everything. Oh my gosh!
I was clean.
But we didn't put two and two together. That hey,
I'm
maybe we need
putting
to be finding something else to clean with because she
right.
has one
I'm
lung. Because nobody talks about how toxic cleaners, home or household cleaners, really are, or what has happened to people. Like now I hear stories of people saying their lungs have been burned. Who talks about that, right? So the reason why I said I wouldn't change it, but sometimes in my mind I'm like, oh, I wish that it wasn't like that. Is because
Mhm.
it limits my contact with people. Like I don't
Understood.
do girls trips. I don't things like that. I have to think ahead. Like I can't share a room with the average person because they're going to always be spraying some kind of perfume. They're going to be bathing in something that's strong. Like every woman, it's like a woman's badge of honor to smell good. So
Yeah.
I used to be her. I was the Victoria's Secret Bath and Body Works person at some point in my life. But when I was taught better, I did better things, and my health, not just, my breathing, but I stopped having recurring sinus infections. It was a lot that I was getting, but I was introducing it to myself. And so now being a certified wellness coach, knowing how deep it really goes and these things and its connection to cancer, like I'm really like, I can't expose myself and I can't really be around it. So that part, I wish I could change it because I can't just do things that normal people are able to do. I have so many other things to consider. I can't go out. Everybody's smoking hookahs. Where can I go? To where I'm like, dang, I had a good time, but I had to leave because they start smoking hookahs. So all of those things, it's just living extremely intentional
Mhm.
of keeping my respiratory health healthy. And then of course it lingers on into our family, but that's how it's impacted me. Just knowing that I got to take care of this second life that God has blessed me with this strong lung and stay as healthy as I can be, but people not understanding. And then I don't look like what I've been through.
Right.
I think
Right.
that's the killer part where most people, if they're disabled, I do feel like I'm disabled. So I don't mind you saying that because if I had one arm, wouldn't you say I was disabled? Because you can see that I have one arm or one leg. Just because you can't see that I have one lung doesn't make me not disabled.
Right.
I don't think it's an offensive word, you know?
Well, it is a sensitive word
It's not for
in the
me.
space.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah,
sensitive.
it's not for me
Yeah.
because it hasn't stopped me. To me it shows God's strength because whatever I'm unable to do,
Mhm.
he does it for me because I've done a whole lot of things with this one lung.
That she has. Now, let me just go on record and say that I still push the hell out of her in efforts to do things because sometimes she just, and I'm very true and understanding. I know sometimes she get mad at me. Come on, let's run. Let's do this.
I don't run.
And I don't run.
I
I don't
walk. I
I
walk
don't
walk
run.
swiftly, but I would not run.
And it's it's funny, but I understand at the same time whenever she walks, I kind of internally tease her in my mind when I listen to her breathe and how she when she does that, and I just look. It's the look for me. It's not the act. It's just the look and how she's
Darren is
doing
cracking us up,
it.
y'all.
It
Producer.
just, it makes me just chuckle. But I just keep on going like I ain't never like it's nothing. It's a norm for me now. So, but that's not
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing. I make light of it
yeah,
because I don't want her to feel that she needs to live in that, even though that's her. She could push herself every now and then to see
yeah,
what comes of it. And that's it's all love and all just good intentions. I just want to like just push you just a little bit. Come on, you can do
yeah.
that.
I
You can do
get
that a
it.
little bit.
And so the goal for me is I never want to be out of control with breathing.
Mm,
It has to be a pace because to be out of breath or out of control with my breathing makes me panic.
mm,
So that's why I don't push myself. I can go fast, but I have to have a breathing rhythm
mm.
to be going fast, but my breathing is still at a pace. So that is what I try to avoid. And that is why I do stay moving. So I won't be out of shape. you know, and out of breath
Right.
because it causes me to panic. It does. It is an anxiety that I still deal with when I'm like, oh gosh, I can't breathe. Wait, because it's scary for me, you know?
Mm.
So I do appreciate you just accepting me as I am because meeting you as a single mom and it's like I felt like all these strikes were against me as to meeting a good man. And so I was
Mhm.
like, who in the world is gonna I have one lung, like that's a lot to deal with. Like,
Mm.
what if I was to ever get sick again? Or who's gonna love me through that? So I really appreciate you just loving me as I am, making life easier for me, like doing the hard stuff, even sacrificing even when you're tired. Just doing the extra. I never God is so good because I never knew there could be a you. I didn't. I know during the pandemic, he started grocery shopping to protect me. Just things. I didn't even have to ask him. It's just he knows like I gotta protect her. And
Mhm.
anything that he does, like anything, it's just I'm so blessed with your existence. I really am.
She gonna make me cry, and I'm trying not to. I'm trying. I'm
I'm just
holding it
blessed.
in. I'm
I
holding
mean,
it
you can
in.
cry, babe. Men cry,
I'm holding it
but you
in.
are an amazing man, and I just really want people, or even someone that struggles with health challenges, that feels like I'm unworthy. This is a burden because that's how I felt.
Mhm.
But you never make me feel like a burden. You don't.
Okay, I'm
That's the
holding it. I'm holding it.
and
All right, I am.
that's the biggest gift
Mhm.
I could ever have is to be loved fully and not treated like I'm a burden because that's just how I feel when it comes to my health. I don't ever want to inconvenience anybody, so I keep things to myself. I do things, on my own. I try to be normal because I used to be very self-conscious
Mhm.
of how my body has changed, how life had to change for me. Made me very self-conscious, but you never treated me any different. You treated me like a normal woman that you love with all your heart, that is attractive, So just thank you for loving me and seeing me like that. That's the biggest gift God could ever give to me.
I'm glad I can be that to you. Um, and just being obedient to His works, and His favor, for sure. Because you are definitely a blessing. Because you've you've shown me a lot. Way of, just way of life. Um, you know, even this, it's not I look at it as it's more of a gift than anything.
Mhm.
And the strangest part is when people don't understand it. And it's like I look at them like, "Which- are you crazy?" Like it's almost as if something's wrong with them because they don't understand it. Not something's wrong with you. And it's the level of understanding um and aware of consciousness that I think everybody should have, because as I stated, we still don't know where it comes from,
Mhm.
and we have to be more aware and in tune to the things that we surround ourselves with. Not just people, but just things that we surround ourselves with that we don't even know is present, that can actually harm us. You know,
Mhm.
and so you know, for you being who you are and going through that and being the loving person that you are through what you've been through, the cheek you turn Whenever somebody's trying to hit that side of that cheek, and you turn the other way and somebody's still trying to hit that side of the cheek, not understanding that this is who I am, this is what I've been through. There are some limitations, there's some things that I just can't be around, and I just need for y'all to be okay with it. And I think I think you're okay with that, because you have a village, you have a core group of people that understand it, and they're very intentional about making sure that your environment is safe. As long as I'm living, you got a safe environment. Y'all don't understand, like, we got a whole AC unit in here that's that is specially designed for her. Who does that? Who knew about that? But it had to be done. So when she can spend her time in being in a clean, safe environment, like, those are the sacrifices and things that, if people love on you, that's what they'll do. So I'm just letting you know I love on you like that.
I know.
So I don't complain. The only thing I complain about is that goddamn water filter in there that we bought, and this thing here don't even drink out of it. So anyway, I'm gonna let that be.
Well,
I'm gonna let it be.
we didn't know it was. I didn't know it was dead water. Okay,
Yeah,
knowledge is power, and at the
it
time,
is.
we thought filtered water was what it was that we should be drinking. Right? We knew we weren't going to drink faucet water.
Everybody think they should be drinking filtered water.
Right, but
Right.
that filtered water is dead water. It doesn't have minerals and things that your body needs. But we know that now.
Right.
So yeah, I don't drink it. It's dead.
Yeah. I could have got me a patio cover or
You are
something.
so silly.
But
But I just think this was a great episode. I didn't know, like I said, coming into this episode, I was all over the place mentally. But I did pray that the Holy Spirit would just kind of lead and guide. I think we're going to do a part 2 for your near death, just to give you time to talk about it, because there are a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack with yours as well. But I would just say to anybody that's dealing with, like, or been through a near death experience, that is for a reason. Like, allow it to be an asset versus something that you're ashamed of or you don't want to share the story about, or something that keeps you in fear. Because I feel like I am where I am today, which is what, 20 something years later, but it kept me in fear a very long time. So don't allow it to keep you in fear. Don't let that emotion distract you from what God really intended to happen from it, because there's some good stuff, some growth, getting closer to Him. I know it produced my purpose in helping other people know about environmental wellness because of how it changed our whole entire lifestyle. That's something that's not really talked about. It's the missing piece of wellness that even doctors don't really know about. But I know about it because that's what God does.
You live it.
Yeah, that's what He does. So now I'm able to bring that out to most people who are more stuck on physical activity and diet regarding wellness. But it's like, well, what about environmental wellness? Because that plays just as big of a role as the other aspects of wellness.
Absolutely.
So I know without a shadow of a doubt, if nothing else, me being able to teach people about that, especially those who battle cancer, cancer survivors, have any type of respiratory issues, lung issues, to be able to share that gift, I know God left me here to be able to do that, as well as share His light and His salvation. But that's so meaningful to be impactful that way. So think about your own story and think about how you've been helped or how your life has been changed. God may be pulling you to share that with someone else and inspire them, give them hope, or maybe even give them a blueprint of how to navigate their space. So, we like to leave y'all with something. So that's what I have for the person who has gone through it, or the person who hasn't. Give a little bit more grace and mercy and be a listening ear to those who have. Because you never know what may happen on your journey. You got something?
No, I was just going to ask you so are you planning on doing a business to do this?
Do what?
To basically get people to more so take a look at their environment, their environmental wellness, um, moving forward. Are
Yeah,
you
of course.
considering that?
Well, I'm already kind of doing that. I do consulting with wellness already. I do consulting with natural hair, of course. But yes, especially in hair salons, because I used to be a hairstylist and salon owner. So I'm really targeting that as well as, homes. But I was thinking about like, because I am a business owner already, but I was thinking about branching off and calling it euphoric environments just because nobody's thinking about that part. But I'm already consulting, sharing different solutions that are clean, depending on what your health issues may be, or if you're just wanting to preserve your health and just be the healthiest you can be. You could be a mom because, as moms and as parents, we want the best for our children.
Right.
And we also want the best for ourselves because we need to be here and healthy too in order for our children to continue to thrive. So I'm already doing that already because that's the assignment. That's truly the
Absolutely.
assignment.
So I told you this was going to be about you. I already said
You
it.
did say that at the beginning before we
I said
started.
it.
And
I
I was like,
I
no, but what
knew
about your
it
story?
was in my spirit.
Oh gosh.
But we could talk about our mine, but
Yeah. We'll talk about that in the
later
next
on.
episode.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Well, this has been good. How you feeling?
I'm good. How do you feel about getting more out?
I feel good. I didn't expect to get emotional, but I'm glad that I did because
Okay.
I tell this story so much and I don't want to ever lose touch with the true feeling of going through it. And I feel
Right.
like today I got that touch of let me take you back to what you really felt like. So I feel good. I
It's
hope that
awesome.
it was inspirational. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we thank everybody for listening and joining in. And I really have, I'm short of words today. Like it has touched me to listen to her speak about this. And I've heard this story plenty of times, but it's just really, I learn, like I said, I learn something new all the time. So you want to take us out, Mom?
All right. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I don't know what else I'm supposed to say, but that's all good because you're going to see this little video after I finish talking. We will see you for the next episode, though, because Chris will be able to share with you his near-death experience, and you don't want to miss it. See y'all next time.
Have a good one. Thanks for watching another episode of the Catch 22 podcast featuring Chris and Tashell.
We really hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you felt empowered, inspired, and connected to our journey in some type of way. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the next one. And remember to tell your story because it definitely changes lives.